Hello everyone, I'm KRIZZIA Mae Bonilla from BPA-4B. So the policy that I made is about the criminal justice reform. Information. The policy that I made is about criminal justice reform. It is a complex and multifaceted policy area. This policy aim is improving the fairness, effectiveness, and equity of the criminal justice system. It also focuses on rehabilitation rather than solely punitive measures that can reduce recidivism rates and promote safer communities. Criminal justice reform seeks to balance public safety with fairness and social justice, as well as the specific policies and approaches. It can vary significantly by jurisdiction. The successful reform often involves collaboration among government agencies, law enforcement, advocacy groups, and affected communities to create more justice-effective system. So next is the issues. Criminal justice reform faces several challenges, including resistance to change, funding and resources, overlapping jurisdiction, lack of data, and public safety concerns. Resistance to change. There can be resistance from within the criminal justice system itself, such as law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, and prison officials who may resist reform that could potentially reduce their power or budgets. So next is funding and resources. Implementing reforms often requires significant financial resources for training, technology upgrades, and community support programs, which may be in short supply. Overlapping jurisdictions. The criminal justice system involves multiple agencies and jurisdictions, making coordinations and uniform reforms efforts challenging. Lack of data. Insufficient data collection and analysis can hinder evidence-based decision-making and reforms effort. Lastly is public safety concerns. Balancing reform with public safety considerations is a delicate challenge as policymakers must ensure that changes do not compromise community safety. These challenges highlight the complexity of criminal justice reform and the need for comprehensive, well-planned efforts to address them effectively. Next is the impact. Criminal justice reform can have several significant impacts on society, including reduced mass incarceration. One of the primary goals of criminal justice reform is to reduce mass incarceration by implementing reforms such as in sentencing changes, diversion programs, and alternatives to incarceration. The prison population can be reduced, saving taxpayer dollars and reducing the social and economic costs of incarceration. Fairness and equity. Criminal justice reform can address racial and socio-economic disparities in the system. This leads to a fairer and more equitable treatment of all individuals, regardless of their background. Lower recidivism. Reforms that focus on rehabilitation, mental health, and addiction treatment, and re-entry support can reduce recidivism rate. When individuals receive the help, they are less likely to return to a life of crime. Improve police-community relations. Community policing and accountability measures can foster trust and cooperation between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. This can lead to safer neighborhoods and fewer instances of police misconduct. Then, next is the implications. Successful criminal justice reform is a complex and ongoing process that requires dedication, collaboration, and a commitment to fairness, equity, and effectiveness. It should prioritize the well-being of individuals, communities, and society as a whole. Meaningful reform is often a long-term endeavor. Policymakers and stakeholders must commit to sustained efforts to see the desired changes through fruitions. Successful reform should take a comprehensive approach addressing multiple aspects of the criminal justice system. This includes sentencing policy practices, bail and pre-trial processes, re-entry programs, and more. Lastly is about the imperatives of policy. Policy plays a crucial role in driving criminal justice reform by setting the framework, rules, and guidelines for how the system operates. So first is the clear objectives. Policy should establish clear, well-defined objectives for reform efforts. These objectives might include reducing mass incarceration, addressing racial disparities, or improving rehabilitation programs. Second is the data-driven decision-making. Policy should mandate the collection and analysis of data related to criminal justice outcomes. This data can inform evidence-based practices and measure the impact of reforms. Last is the equity and fairness. Policy should prioritize fairness and equity in the criminal justice system. This includes addressing racial and socioeconomic disparities and ensuring that all individuals are treated equally under the law.